It was fire and fury in the United States Senate as the Democrats are pushing back against Donald Trump's fascism and the total capitulation of Republicans in the Senate and in the House of Representatives. Let me show you Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley right here, calling out the Republicans in the Senate for blocking an effort by the Democrats to require the Department of Justice to turn over the Epstein files. 51 Republican senators voted to block the effort by Democrats to release the Epstein files in the Senate. So the Republican senators banded together to block the release of the Epstein files for Donald Trump. Just think about how disgusting that is. Here's Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley talking about what went down. Let's play it.
Instead of cooperating, the Trump administration is obstructing. They're simply saying two words: case closed. Case closed? When they have their hands on information potentially regarding dozens or hundreds of individuals who abused young women. So today we had a chance to vote on whether the case is closed. We had before us an amendment which said, deliver the files. Create the force of law, deliver the files. And 51 senators in this body, I am ashamed to say, said, hell no. We want them kept secret. We want to protect the perpetrators. Why? Because the man in the Oval Office, Mr. Trump, told us he wants us to protect those files. Does not want them public.
Next, you have Donald Trump's nominee to become a judge in the Third Circuit Court of Appeals and one of the highest courts in the United States of America. He picked a very unqualified individual, an associate professor at the Columbus School of Law at Catholic University. Her name is Jennifer Mascott, and she's previously wrote papers about how basically Donald Trump can do whatever the hell he wants in office and get away with it because he should get absolute immunity for everything. She wrote briefs supporting Trump's claim for total immunity a year or two ago. That's why he likes her. She's not even licensed to practice law in Delaware. She's not from the state of Delaware, where the court is. She really has zero connections there at all. She just even signed up to be registered to be practicing before the Third Circuit Court of Appeal in late May for the first time in her life. Watch the exchange between Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse and this associate professor Mascott, who Trump wants to now be on the Third Circuit Court of Appeal. Disgusting stuff right here. Play this clip.
Have you ever voted in Delaware?
Well, Senator, as I was discussing with Senator Coons, we, of course, have had a long time home.
I'd prefer if I didn't get filibustered and I actually got an answer to a simple question. Have you ever voted in Delaware?
Well, Senator, as a public servant and professor here, no. I've been voting in Maryland.
Registered to vote in Delaware.
Well, Senator, as a public servant and academic here, I'm registered to vote here. If this body...
Driver's license or any other record of licensing from the state of Delaware?
Senator, I do not yet have a Delaware driver's license. I do have a car that is insured in Delaware.
Because you have some house there.
We've had a long time home, and yes.
And you were not admitted until May into the Third Circuit?
Senator, I became admitted in May in the Third Circuit, yes.
And you have no blue slip from either of the two Democrat senators?
Senator, I am really honored to be the president's nominee, and I didn't believe there were blue slips at the circuit court level.
And then it gets worse than that, because you have Democratic Senator Adam Schiff asking Mascott a very basic question. Can Donald Trump order SEAL Team 6 to kill his political opponents? Are you okay with that? And she refuses to answer the question. She refuses to say, no, of course he can't do that. Saying, well, I think that maybe, I don't know. Here, watch what she says. Here, play this clip.
I'll ask you a specific question. Would the president be immune from prosecution if he ordered SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political opponent? No.
Senator, under the Supreme Court precedent on that question, the Supreme Court has specifically not answered it.
Is that a difficult question? Is that an open question in your view?
Well, Senator, under the contours of Trump versus United States, which deals with criminal immunity, I'm not sure that it fully answers all of the political mechanisms that would be in place to address and keep such a horrific situation from ever occurring.
So you're unclear as to whether a president could be prosecuted for that. Is that what you're saying? You don't know the answer?
Well, I think what I'm saying is that within the particular contours of criminal immunity discussed in that opinion, it addresses actually what is an official act. And so I think the first threshold question would be whether one could ever conceive of such a thing as an official act.
I don't want to filibuster my question. It's very simple. If the president tomorrow to order SEAL Team 6 to assassinate a political opponent, in your view, is he immune from criminal prosecution absent an impeachment first?
If it's not an official act, a phrase that has not yet been fully defined,
if he's using the
courts,
military to do it, which the court said he has absolute immunity when he deploys the military, is he immune or not?
well, I don't read the court's decision to say that any use of the military outside of official acts comes within its immunity contours. And as this body knows, because of various drone strikes and other things.
So under the question I asked you, what's the answer, Professor? Yes or no? You're used to answering questions and asking student questions.
Now I want to show you a powerful speech by Democratic Senator Chris Murphy. I want to show you these things because it's not getting any attention in the corporate news. But did you know that the MAGA Republicans in the Senate basically just gave up their advice and consent constitutional authority? Again, have you seen this reported anywhere? So what the Senate normally would do is go over nominees that Trump would nominate, and then they would have to confirm in the Senate, but they'd go over the nominees one by one, and then every nominee, whether it's a cabinet pick, a judge, or any other position that requires a nomination by the president, it requires approval by the Senate, the voting would happen one at a time. Well, at the request of Donald Trump, the Republicans in the Senate passed a law neutering its own powers in the Senate. And they basically say, look, we're not going to do voting one by one. We're just going to package together everybody that Donald Trump gives us, and we're just going to give it one vote altogether, so no longer individual votes. So that means even in a cabinet pick. And the Republicans are like, oh, well, we're not going to do it when it comes to the cabinet. We're just going to do all other positions. But then technically, there wouldn't be individual voting on cabinet members. Trump could push anybody he wants and say, vote them all at once. It is the pure subjugation of the legislative branch in total. And the MAGA Republican Senate just giving up their role as a co-equal branch. This is what happens in authoritarian regimes. It's not happening in the United States. It happened. But by democracy, Dunnigs doesn't exist anymore. Now, we can fight. We, the people, can fight for it back. We can take to the streets and peacefully protest. That's why we promote the No Kings protest and all of the peaceful resistance here. But you know what's going to happen if Democrats are able to take power again, and the Republicans are going to be like, whoa, you can't do this. We need laws to rein in the executive branch. Whoa, you got to follow we overstepped. Nah, you're a bunch of freaking fascists. You're a bunch of freaking fascists. And I hope when there's a Democrat in charge, if these are the rules, I don't want to see, oh, now we got to play nice. We got to fight fire with fire, folks. Here's Democratic Senator Murphy. Play this clip.
Today, I want to talk about another common part of this story about how democracies evaporate. And that's the subjugation of the legislative branch to a corrupt executive branch. Put another way, in healthy democracies, the legislature or the parliament sees itself as a check on runaway executive power. It stands up regularly for its powers, its prerogatives, no matter who the president or the prime minister is. In a disappearing democracy, the legislature effectively operates as an arm of the executive, simply taking orders, including orders to wind down the independent power of the legislature. This is what is happening here, right now, in the United States Senate. One of the most important checks on executive power given to the Senate by the Constitution is the power of consent for nominees to high executive office. It prevents a president from installing in power unqualified or corrupt people. It allows the legislature, and through the legislature, the people, to make sure that the executive branch stays in its lane, executing the law, not making the law. Now, yesterday, we effectively gave that power up in an extraordinary way. Senate Republicans went nuclear. That means they used their majority power to change the rules of the Senate unilaterally without any Democratic support. So that now, in one single vote, the Senate can confirm 50 or 100 or 1,000 Trump nominees all at once. From the founding of our republic until yesterday, Without unanimous consent, the Senate voted on one nominee at a time. Now the Senate can batch together dozens or hundreds of nominees in one vote, essentially obliterating our power of advice and consent.
Here he is again talking more about the rules.
Senate Republicans increasingly view themselves as mere employees of their party's leader, Donald Trump. They will look the other way when he violates the law, and when he asks to consolidate power, his employees grant his request without thinking twice. Because this wasn't the first time congressional Republicans gladly gave up their power to make Trump's lawlessness easier. Trump has effectively seized the spending power from Congress. Trump has frozen or canceled more than $400 billion in congressionally appropriated funding. Senate Republicans have done virtually nothing to counteract that extraordinary, unprecedented seizure of spending power. Congressional Republicans have also just frankly closed down any meaningful oversight of the corruption that's happening in the executive branch. Meanwhile, Donald Trump and his family have made $3.4 billion off of his presidency. The president is using White House resources, taxpayer-funded White House resources, to market a Trump crypto coin. He bullied a foreign government into giving him a private jet. His family is setting up companies as we speak to profit off government contracts. It's a massive growing corruption racket. But now all of a sudden, Republicans have no interest in oversight.
And here he is again talking more about those rules. Play this clip.
We are watching a slow motion daily assault on democracy take place. Institutions are shuttering venues of dissent. The judiciary is being turned into just a mechanism to harass and imprison the president's political opponents. Our media are cutting deals with the president to silence loud critics of the administration. And now, this body will no longer get to vote on individual nominees to the administration, who are likely going to carry out this campaign to undermine and eventually potentially destroy the rule of law. None of this is normal. None of this, including what is happening this week in the United States Senate, has any historical precedent before in this country. All of it is wildly dangerous and perhaps fatal if we continue to refuse to join together as Republicans and Democrats to rise to the challenge and protect our democracy.
Right? Have you seen that anywhere other than what I just showed you? Like, don't you think in the swing of things, that's pretty freaking important? Of all the stuff that the news is focusing on, that's not number one. That's why I'm honored to have this platform to share with you things like this in the words of the senators. Just hear what they're saying. Or how about this? How about the fact that Senate Republicans just confirmed a Trump judicial nominee who doesn't even know what Title VI of the Civil Rights Act is? Here, play this clip.
Judge, what's Title VI of the Civil Rights Act do?
I believe that ensures that people are treated equally in any places that they would be, that they would not be discriminated against.
In all cases?
Refresh my recollection as to what you were referring to,
I'm
Senator.
referring to Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which you're going to see every other Thursday as a federal judge.
So I believe that's under the Commerce Clause. They wanted to make sure that there was not any discrimination going on with regard to race, and that was what was addressing it.
It prohibits discriminating on the basis of race or color or national origin. Under what circumstance? Do you know the answer?
Under any circumstances where you're providing services to people.
No, it's only if you're getting federal money. You need to brush up on that one. I'm way over my time. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Maybe a few other places. So Trump and Republicans are allowing the Affordable Care Act subsidies to expire. Pretty soon, the next 30 days or so, they'll be expired. That's going to cause millions of Americans to get hit with higher health insurance premiums. And many Americans are not going to be able to afford it at all. Republicans are refusing to address this with Democrats at all. And we are heading into disaster territory. This isn't even to mention the disastrous budget bill gutting Medicaid, harming Medicare. We're talking about Affordable Care Act. So if you're not on Medicaid and Medicare, if you get your insurance from Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, you're probably benefiting from ACA subsidies. Those expire. So you may get priced out of your health insurance in like 20 days. That's a very significant thing that could happen very soon. Here's Democratic Senator from Hawaii, Brian Schatz. Here's what he's got to say. Let's play it.
This is not a political talking point. This is actually about to happen for millions of Americans across the country. They're going to get a letter in the mail from their health insurance plan stating that their monthly premiums are going to go up by hundreds of dollars per month per person. And it'll be because Republicans, having just voted to kick 10 million people off of health care 2 months ago, are allowing the Affordable Care Act subsidies that made premiums cheaper to expire. American families all across the country will have an impossible choice to make. They don't have an extra couple $100. They really don't have that money. Tens of millions of Americans are going to be forced back into the period before the Affordable Care Act, where they'd look at their health care premiums and say, I just can't do it. I can't make my rent or my mortgage, pay my utilities, pay my grocery bills, pay for gas, pay for kids' tuition, pay for my parents, and pay for health care. A lot of you remember that time. And what's going to happen this fall is not a political challenge for Republicans. It is a real challenge for people across the country. Democrats are ready to work with anyone to restore health care for the millions of Americans who are about to get smacked in the face. But that starts with a meeting. It has to start with a meeting. And Leader Thune and Speaker Johnson haven't even asked Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to sit down and discuss this. It starts with a conversation about how to avoid all this pain for millions of Americans across the country.
And finally, here, Brian Schatz is again on the Senate floor talking about the exact type of tyranny and government overreach that people on the right had always been saying, oh, the Dems are going to do it, the Dems are going to do it. Nah, y'all are doing it right now. Communism, y'all are doing it right now. Trump seizing companies, fascism, authoritarianism, Trump invading American cities, using AI companies to spy on American people. What the hell is going on here? Listen to this. Let's play it.
This is exactly the kind of tyranny and government overreach that the people on the right worried about for many, many years, except they thought it would happen under a Democratic administration. They worried about socialism. They worried about the government impeding free markets. They worried about power concentrating in the executive branch. All of that is happening now under Donald Trump. We have the United States government taking a 10% stake in a private company, picking winners and losers in one of the most important industries for America's future. We have the leader of the free world forming a secret police of sorts to kidnap people and send them to foreign gulags. We have the President of the United States making $5 billion in one day by launching a new crypto product on the side. We have an entire administration more focused on tormenting private institutions into submission. Universities, law firms, media companies, than delivering public services and making people's lives better. And here's the thing. All of this is part of the same project. There is this tendency, particularly among liberal pundits, to wave off parts of Trump's agenda as distractions. He may be decimating American foreign assistance and starving kids around the world, but that's a distraction. He may be sending armed troops and masked men into American cities without justification, but we're supposed to treat that as another distraction. But we don't need to outsmart ourselves here. We can acknowledge that two things are true at once.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Keep you posted every step of the way. Hit subscribe. Thanks for watching.